The other issue that has appears looming this week is the sanctions bill. As we know, the president has wanted to have a little flexibility dealing with Russia, and there are some voices, and even Donald Trump, 2016, was very critical of the Russian sanctions that President Obama had put on, and he was going to lift those, or
Right.
at least he wanted the ability to have some leverage with those sanctions. And then all the news comes out about the Russian hacking the election, and so Congress is saying, "Well, the last thing we want to do is lift those sanctions," right? So they've passed a pretty tough bill.
Right. And this is one issue I would argue is actually a very bipartisan thing. And it's hilarious that Congress has not really done anything. They have, Republicans in the House, Senate, and White House. No major legislation has moved through. And the one major piece of legislation is bipartisan, kind of against the president here. Congress is saying it was a bill just on Iran sanctions. And McCain and some Democrats negotiated to get something on Russian sanctions on this bill. And basically it says we can overrule you, President Trump. If you want to lift sanctions, we have the right to say that's not a good idea. Mm-hmm. And it was voted on 98-2. And the two that voted against it, Rand Paul and was it Bernie Sanders, I believe?
I was never sure, really. Yeah.
Don't quote me on those two. Okay. But I do believe it was kind of, people that might not vote on something like that. Yeah, 98-2 is a massive deal. And I've had a lot of Democrats say, look, you can say that we're having, these battle lines with Republicans, but this needs to be getting attention because we really pulled this off together. But it was muddled. So passed the Senate very easily, moved on to the House, and got stuck there. The White House was lobbying them to change it. Oil companies were saying, look, this will hurt our business. Republicans were blaming Democrats. It was a mess. So over the weekend, they all came together and basically agreed, which is a big deal.
Yeah, to say, we don't care, Mr. President, you may want to play footsie with Vladimir Putin, but we don't like him, and we don't like what he did to our democratic system during the election, and we're going to make it the sanctions tougher and make it tougher for any president to undo them.
Right, exactly. And it is any president. It's not like that in there they said, just you specifically because of your relationship with Putin. It's any president moving forward.
But and it's interesting that President Obama had the power, and he did unilaterally ease the sanctions on Iran in order to get them to sign the nuclear deal. In return for signing the nuclear deal, can ease the sanctions. President Obama had that,
and he was criticized for that.
He was criticized by Donald Trump, among others, the candidate. But at least Obama had that authority. This Republican Congress is taking that same authority away from the Republican president.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's just on Russia, right? It's not unilaterally.
I believe so, although North Korea, according to one version of the bill, is in and one is out. I'm not really sure where North Korea may be in there too.
The bills are different, and then they kind of had to come together on like an agreement bill. So.
Right.
And it happened over the weekend or at the end of the last week, so we don't know the exact details, but it's expected that it'll have those big powers overall.
Right. And again, the White House made it clear they don't want this bill, they don't like this bill. And yesterday on the talk shows, this new unified communications team, Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Anthony Scaramucci, appeared on different networks and gave an entirely different message. Here was Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that we really like these tougher sanctions.
Look, the administration is supportive of being tough on Russia, particularly in putting these sanctions in place.
And Scaramucci, I'm not even sure we have that clip, but Scaramucci on another network said just the opposite, saying the president hasn't decided yet what he would do about this bill. Now, and to make it further complicated, the New York Times today headlines, Trump in switch seems to accept the Russia sanctions. So their reporting inside the White House is that Trump realizes, well, it's a tough choice for him. He either has to veto this bill passed by his Republican
98
Congress
senators.
and the 98 senators, or sign the bill and say,
Right.
okay, I'll go along with it.
I think this is one of those things you see them,
He'll sign the bill.
and then maybe in a couple months he'll go crazy on Twitter about it. But I think he has to sign this bill. He doesn't have to. But
Right.
it is one of those things where it raises a lot of questions if he doesn't.
I want to go back to underscore the point you made, which I think is a very good one, is that it will be it will be stunning if, in fact, the first major legislation passed by this Congress is a bill that takes power away from the Republican president of the United States.
Right.
Is a bill that he does not want.
Right. And this is something
That
Republicans
says
feel.
a lot about how effective he is and about his relationship with Congress.
And this is something Republicans Republicans that are kind of party line guys, Bob Corker, he is not someone you'd expect to like go rogue on things. And he was, for the last weeks, anytime we go to talk to him about healthcare, he talks, we need to get this Russia bill passed. This is something. So at least in the Senate, which is where I've been spending a lot of my time because of healthcare, that was something that they felt very strongly about.